So, what do you do for your job?
So for my job, I am a professor of communication at Boston College, and I'm also the chairperson of the communication department here at Boston College.
How is your job related to technology effects on our generation?
So we have courses in my department that focus on things like social media and globalization. And so some of the courses would include content that would relate to children and technology. We also have a class called Children and the Media.
What are some things that stood out to you that you've learned about how technology affects kids today?
Well, I think there's some positives which people sometimes forget to talk about, and then of course there are a number of things that people also worry about that might be negatives for kids today. For positives, I think it's really nice that kids can be more in touch with each other online, and it makes it easier to maintain contacts if you're far away. You know, if you move to a new location, or you can have chat groups and keep in touch with larger groups of people kind of simultaneously, which people didn't used to be able to do. So I think that's kind of a social advantage in some ways. The negatives, I think there are probably people pay more attention to the negatives. Um, One of the negatives is that kids, I think, get distracted into technologies and they maybe don't spend as much time interacting with other elements of their environment, like other people, and doing things like going out to play instead of interacting with technology.
Okay. How do you see technology affect your son?
Oh, kind of similar, I guess. I think with the case of my son, sometimes I have to kind of encourage him to go and put down the phone and go do something else. So sometimes it takes a little bit more conversation or a little bit more pressure. I think that in the house we have to kind of pay attention. We have some rules like no electronics at the dining room table and things like that.
Okay. Who do you think is more vulnerable to the effects of technology, children or adults, and why?
I think that children are more vulnerable, but the main reason right now is because people who are adults right now, for the most part, have had an opportunity to grow up and learn how to interact with the world without all these tempting technologies that can fit right in your pocket and so forth. So adults have a kind of a baseline or a background of having grown up interacting in ways that kind of predate the ways that people like to interact using technology today. So I think it's more of a challenge for kids to learn how to interact in the other ways that we learned how to do it in the past.
How do you see technology affecting future generations?
I think with future generations, there will continue to be a pressure or a temptation to focus on technological interactions with other people and to minimize interactions with people in a face-to-face way. One of the problems that we see, for example, with college students is certain college students, not everybody, but some people come to campus and they forget to kind of focus on the college environment and campus because they're in such constant communication with their friends and their family from home. So they get out of class and they call their parents instead of going and having a meal with friends on campus and talking with them. So sometimes people are having trouble kind of integrating into their real world environment because they're more focused on their electronics and another environment that they're not physically present in at the moment.
Okay, what do you think is the overall effect of technology on children and teens today?
Well, that's a pretty big one. I think the overall effect on children and teens is one of distraction. That children and teens may tend to have a shorter attention span because they're used to being able to switch from one thing to another. They're used to being able to, have headphones, listen to music while doing homework, while watching TV. And so I think it's just harder for people to learn how to focus their attention and be kind of very present with one thing. So I think distraction is the main problem.
Okay, last question. Is there anything else you think we should know about technology affecting teens?
Well, I guess I would go back to where I started and say that I think there definitely are also positive effects. So it's good to kind of keep in mind the things that technology allows us to do. So it allows us, for example, to have access to incredible amounts of information. We just have to be careful to learn how to filter the information and figure out what kinds of information are more useful than others.
Okay.
Thank you.